Good, good evening and welcome to this new moon reading. This is a reading that I'm kind of excited to do because I want to see what comes up, and it's mostly because this is the new moon that is also connected to a solar eclipse. Now, the new moon that we have right now is in Leo, which means traditionally it would be a new moon about stepping into recognition, starting new ways to highlight our talents and our skills, as well as looking at, where are we being recognized, and are we making clear pathways to be able to be recognized for the gifts and the skills that we have. And with Leo, a lot of it is natural and innate gifts and talents. The thing is that Leo is ruled by the sun. And right now we have a solar eclipse kind of in play, which is putting something between the moon and the sun as far as Leo being able to activate its full potential and its full power. And unlike with a new moon where it's about what do we need to release and let go, there is still the potential for growth. There's still the potential for beginnings and new things to take place. Mostly what's going on right now is that there's something between us and what's coming. And so that's really what this new moon reading is going to be exploring is, I think the question is what essentially is standing between you and what wants to begin right now. So we're going to shuffle the cards up. Pull our 3 cards for our reading. And let's jump in. So the first question that we're asking with this new moon is, what is standing between you and what wants to begin? So what right now is standing between you and what in your life wants to begin? And here we have the Two of Cups. And this is an interesting card to have here because what's standing between you and what wants to begin is the connection you have to it, the connection you have to yourself. Maybe, especially because this is a Leo moon, maybe there's a part of your true self that is hidden in the shadows, that is hidden in the depths. And so there's a chasm that needs to be bridged between you and what is ready to begin, but it's based on how connected you feel to it. I really like having this come up, especially because you have a water card here on a very fiery driven new moon. And what this is basically kind of coming in and saying is that, all of this water energy is all about feeling your way through. So instead of just going forward and getting things done, we need to slow down. We need to stop and see where our emotions are. What is the connection that we've got between us and what it is that we want to begin? And the twos of the minor cards are all, for me, they're all choices. They're all choice points. And so this one's asking, are you choosing to begin something that you feel connected to? So I think that's something that we really kind of need to be keeping in point. And it makes a lot of sense as to why this eclipse is coming now, because a lot of us are really wanting to rush forward and get things done. And what we're being asked is slow down long enough to make sure that what you're rushing toward, even if it comes naturally, is what you feel connected to. And then that brings us to what stands between you and your authentic self-expression. Now, I had this conversation with a reading I did a little while ago where I was looking at the definition of authenticity. And authenticity is only self-defined, right? Only we can tell whether what we're doing is authentic to who we are. And so what we're asking ourselves then is, what is it that's standing between us and what we know to be our authentic self-expression? And this is, I think, a really good card that makes a lot of sense with the Two of Cups, right? So if we're choosing what feels good for us, it could bring a lot of anxiety forward. It could bring a lot of worry because maybe, this Nine of Swords is saying maybe what it is that you want to do, that you're good at, that is authentic to you, is really, really scary because it goes against maybe some of the communities you've been in. Maybe it goes against some of the people that you're connected to. And so it's really important for us to be able to understand that when we are going forward, if we want to go forward and be authentic to ourselves, this sense of anxiety, this sense of dread, this sense of doom that is coming based on something we're perceiving to be coming from external to us is a really good meter stick for us to understand what part of ourselves is feeling that it has to be masked because of the situation that we're going into, right? To me, anxiety and resistance comes when the authentic self is saying, if you put me there, you're going to have to hide who I am, right? And so it's a really good place for us to explore where are the spaces that, on an instinctual level, we're afraid to be our authentic self. And then with the last card, we're looking at what stands between you and your vitality. And I think this is absolutely, a perfect card for this reading because it's the sun, right? Here we have a Leo new moon that is ruled by the sun during a solar eclipse. And the vitality, what's standing between us and our vitality is the sun. And it's very interesting to have that here because when you think about it, the sun holds a lot of nutrients for us. At the same time, it does also hold a lot of dangers, right? Anyone who has had experience over a lifetime of, say, sunburns and stuff like that, slowly every burn that they have increases their risk for skin cancer. There's a lot of things within the sun. There's radiation and toxins and stuff like that. The sun has a tremendous amount of destructive capability, right? If you've ever studied solar flares, for instance, you know that we're only one giant solar flare away from all of the world's telecommunication systems being shut down, right? Because a solar flare has the capacity to completely obliterate all of the infrastructure, like the wiring, the electromagnetics of the systems that we have. And so at the same time, though, I think of cats, right? Many people who have had cats know cats are solar powered. And so are we to an extent because I believe it's the pineal gland in the brain, right? It requires the light of the sun. It is what helps remind us it's time to get up. There's a lot of power in the gland. And so what is standing between us and our vitality is the sun. And when I look at that in the sense of the question, what I'm looking at is there's all of the fears of being too much in the sun that keeps us from actually tapping into what the sun's potential can offer us. When you look at the world's population and you take into consideration that I'll at least use North American, over 80% of the North American population are vitamin D deprived. And when you think about that, that means 80% of the population spend less time outside because the vitamin D, our greatest source of vitamin D, is from the sun. I think last time I looked, I think it was something like 20 or 30 minutes daily in the sun gives you your vitamin D. So 20 to 30 minutes in the sun, and 80% of the population is vitamin D deprived. It's almost like saying that what's going on right now is that we are standing between us and our vitality. We're making choices, we're doing things, we are eclipsing the sun from being able to have, for us to access that energy, as well as for that energy to, kind of renew us and refresh us. I think it's just absolutely incredible, right? Like, so we've got the Two of Cups, which is watery. We've got the Nine of Swords, which is bringing air and clarity. And then we have the sun, our major arcana card for this reading, that is coming in and saying, hey, we really need to stop and take a moment to reprioritize, to realign, to reconnect with all of these things that are slowly putting us out of alignment, that are slowly keeping us from really shining and really showing who we are. So I hope you enjoyed this new moon in Leo reading with the little added spiciness of a solar eclipse. If you happen to, I'm not quite sure if this eclipse has happened yet, but if it is still to happen and you get the opportunity, please go out and enjoy it. Otherwise, if it has happened and you enjoyed it, I'm so glad that you've had the opportunity to enjoy it. In the meantime, I wish you all the best, take care, and I will see you around the webs.